Hi guys, welcome to The Cuts Next Level. This week we are joined by a creative foodie who used to design furniture. Diana Yan is the founder of The Jewels of New York, a multidisciplinary creative studio, author of A Simple Feast, and mom to the one and only Cleo the Bunny. Hi Diana, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Devin.
I scrolled through your Instagram drooling so many times because the food is just the presentation of the miso tahini chocolate chunk cookies or the noodles, everything just looks really good.
Oh, thank you.
So before we dive into discussing the beauty and community aspects of cooking, how did you make that transition into food?
As a kid, my mom was a great cook, so it wasn't really my turf, actually. I was more interested in design, and I went to study in San Francisco, and that's when, I started to learn more about the farmer's market and seasonal eating and Alice Waters and all of that. So I really learned to cook while I was in school.
After school, you came to New York.
Yes, I came to New York to, keep pursuing design. I was doing product design and furniture at the time. And I think that, cooking sort of, you create a community around it. When you have food, you have friends. So it was the best way to meet people was just to invite them over for a meal. So I always had a community of creative people around and was luring them with food. Eventually, I had a blog that was really popular. This is when people used to blog. I don't know if people blog still, but yeah, I had a blog, and I would just make recipes every week. So yeah, that's how I sort of started.
Can you tell us more about the Jewels of New York and what inspired you to start this business?
I guess the name actually comes from when I first moved to New York, and I think it was all about me finding what the hidden jewels were of New York, upstate apple picking in the fall, or in the summer I would go to the Rockaways and I'd be inspired to make fish tacos. So it was a lot about the journey of living in New York. And then it just eventually became a job where I was doing commercial styling, and then I also just kept working on cookbooks and recipe development, just educating people on how to cook with different products.
And then what is simple living?
Simple living. That's a funny question. I'm trying to think. When I first started cooking, it was really complicated. I would want to make a Thomas Keller recipe that takes 3 days to make. And now I'm all right, I got an onion. I have some squash. This is what's in season. What can I make with these things? And I think just letting the ingredients speak to you is the best way to cook.
What key ingredients do you think everyone should keep in their house? List 5.
If I would say 5 things, I would say probably dried beans. I love garbanzo beans, white beans, any kind of bean that you like to eat, and make a big pot of it. And you can make it into a dip. You can make it into soup. You can crisp it up and roast it as a snack. So anything that's versatile, I would say that's great to have in your pantry. So beans is one of them.
Okay.
A good dried pasta for sure.
Yes.
I think that people should experiment with peppercorns more.
Yes, they should. I agree.
So many. When
there's
you look
so
at
many.
Okay, you start with black peppercorn, and actually I ran out one day and I realized wait, I have pink, I have white, I have one called Grains of Paradise, and it really adds a subtle kick to your food. And I think that people should explore peppercorns more. And then it's good to have also kind of tahini and nut butters and things like that. Those are great to have for everyday use. And just good olive oil. I think that would be the last
olive oil. I think Instapot is another thing that people need to add to their kitchen products.
I was a hater for a long time because I'm I love making broth and simmering for 3 hours and smelling, and now I'm I kind of want to just stick it in and you don't have to watch it the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah, now that we're working from home, I've burnt so much working from home. It's I need this. As a foodie during the pandemic, how did the role of food change in your day-to-day? And then how did you stay motivated to cook for yourself and inspire others to cook?
Well, for me, it changed a lot because I wasn't doing my normal like commercial styling. I wasn't going away. I was just at home all the time. So I was trying to think of like, what can I make with everyday ingredients, but like really turn them into something beautiful, and sharing those recipes. Like I really try to make a point to do it almost every day, to like write new recipes and share them and share, the images. And I think that it really helped me build a community even stronger online, and it made me feel less lonely. It was really fulfilling, and I like really want to continue doing it.
What challenges have you faced, and how were you able to get over those?
There are so many challenges, and I think starting out, I had a pretty responsible, reliable job, and then I'm have a food blog, and then I'm gonna make that into a job. How does that even work? But I really love that we are in a time now, if you have a phone, if you have the passion to do something and you really are adamant about it, you can make that your career. And that's kind of what I did. I didn't go to culinary school, but I had, an obsessive way of testing recipes and thinking about food and the visual side. And that helped me build a career.
Before we go, I would love to introduce everyone to your bunny child, Cleo. Hi, Cleo. Questions for Cleo. What's Cleo's favorite food?
Oh, she loves carrot tops from the farmer's market.
Okay.
And anything that's the tops of celery, the celery leaves and things like that. I always save for her and she loves it. I just mix them all up.
Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us. We had fun. Bye.